Hi there. Can I talk to you for a little bit?
You have to come inside right now. There were 4 of them.
What do we say? You shouldn't make things up when we're talking about...
Can you open the door, please?
They're breaking in! I got you, baby.
We're not here to hurt you, but you have to stay here in the cabin with us. Families throughout history have been chosen to make this decision. Your family must choose to willingly sacrifice one of the 3 of you to prevent the apocalypse.
We're not sacrificing anyone.
For every no you give us, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die.
It's really happening.
Sweetheart, close your eyes.
Will you make a choice?
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch spoilercast of M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Knock at the Cabin. I'm your host, Ashley Hubley. Join me today, Dylan Blight.
I love to knock at cabins.
Who doesn't love knocking on random cabins in the middle of the woods? That seems like a totally rational thing to do. Alright, please be aware, we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot themes in any of the movie. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. Of course, it is playing in cinemas everywhere. With that said, let's jump to a discussion of Knock at the Cabin. Directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Screenplay by M. Night Shyamalan, Steve Desmond, and Michael Sherman. Based on The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul G. Tremblay. Starring Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, Nikki, Amuka-Bird, Kristen, Quinn, and Rupert, Grint. While vacationing at a remote cabin in the woods, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by 4 armed strangers who demand they make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. Confused, scared, and with limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. Dylan, M. Night Shyamalan is known for some incredible movies and some very not incredible movies. Where does Knock at the Cabin sit for you?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a surprisingly straightforward. I mean, some crazy stuff happening, but it was surprisingly straightforward for M. Night's type of movies. There was no like sudden swerve or big twist. I guess at the end, it sort of was all as you thought, I guess, or as the audience thought. I don't know if anyone in the audience. I feel like you're supposed to be on their side and accept they're telling the truth the entire time and not, like, I don't know how. Do you feel like?
I think the movie wants you to be unsure the entire time who is telling it, whether they're telling the truth or whether it's an elaborate prank.
Yeah, okay. Because straight away I was like, for some reason I was just like,
oh yeah, that seems like they're telling the truth.
That seems like they're telling the truth. I trust this very soft-spoken, muscular man. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Why would he lie? I really like the cast. I thought everyone was really good. Obviously, Dave Bautista does this really good performance. Rupert Grint is a very small role, I guess. He's also quite interesting in this with that accent and the type of role that it is for him. So, thought that was interesting.
It's definitely not
little girl.
Ron from the movie series. Don't talk about him.
No. The little girl I thought was really, really good, especially in that like opening 5 minutes. They sort of set up the adorable factor, I guess, and it was filmed interestingly. I don't know what the that's the only sort of thing that annoyed me. Is I was just like, so the movie starts and they use these like it does this whole like cuts between these really specific, slightly off-centered close-ups, like between Leonard and the girl, and then the rest of the movie doesn't ever really use that technique again, and I just found it quite odd, and I'm not sure if I'm missing something or I don't know why this is sticking out to me. I just literally got out of cinema too, so that's a weird thing to have stick with me, but that's what it is.
So it was shot by Jaron Blachky. Do you know what his previous films include?
No, but not by name.
The Robert Eggers films.
Okay.
So The Lighthouse, major one.
Yeah. See it?
Which makes sense.
Love shooting stuff in
shooting in one location and small sets.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I think it started off like a house on fire. It was super strong at the beginning, like you said, like the introduction of the little girl, and then Dave Bautista coming up and like being this very well mannered and nice person, despite having his obvious physique and like just kind of very playing against type, I guess, or like expectations. but then, they quickly set up the premise and setting up the different characters, the parents and that kind of stuff. But then, obviously, I think, it kind of peters out, I feel like. I feel like there's so many things that you can point out and, like, pick apart, especially once everything's finished and come to a conclusion. And it just feels like the second half of the movie is very rushed and, like, there's the line of dialogue. We're gonna ask these questions much faster now. We're gonna be asking you to, the questions, much more quickly now, like they needed to be somewhere, which they didn't seem to have any reason to. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed parts. I think the acting across the board is very good, shot very well. But yeah, the whole mystery and of, are they telling the truth? Are they not telling the truth? Kind of, pitted out. And then he outright says, he just outright says, they were meant to represent the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's like, oh, come on. Make the audience work a little bit. And even then, it's like, I don't, like, for the most basic person, I think, other than the obvious, like, plagues that they were sending on the Earth, it's like, I don't think you could, like, pull, like, it's like, they were meant to show all these different aspects of humanity. But outside of Rupert Grint, there wasn't really any connection to them. And just like, this lady was meant to represent caring because she gave that kid breakfast. It's like, okay, I don't. That's a bit of a stretch, man.
No, it's a very caring person.
And then on the other, and then Ben Aldridge's character is like, I don't think they fleshed out both of the parents well enough. Like, Ben Aldridge's character is clearly set up as like a person who has completely fair distrust for people due to hate crime happening against him, and like his parents obviously being homophobic and all these other things that happened to him. You understand why he would not accept these people coming along, whereas you don't really get to see why Jonathan Groff would be willing to accept why this crazy notion. Yeah,
I feel like it. I just really, I don't know. I do feel like having them save the world. I guess I sort of feel like it should have just been a full, like, just commit to the dark ending. Would have been more interesting.
Well, it's interesting. So it's obviously based on the book. The book is the events of the book are different, and from what I can tell, it takes a much darker turn. I'll just say
happens.
Spoilers for the book if you want to go back and read it. But during the scene where he shoots, I can't remember her name.
Sabrina or something.
Sabrina, yeah. He accidentally shoots Wen in that sequence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah. So obviously they kill the daughter, but then Leonard's like, oh, that's not enough because you didn't kill her willingly. It doesn't count. So the apocalypse still continues, and then they say, fuck it, we're going home. We'll just, the apocalypse, we don't want to believe in a god that doesn't believe that her sacrifice was enough. So then they doom the world. But yeah, I feel like it would have been more interesting if there was like more connections between everybody, and like more mystery and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it just kind of,
or even like
it just felt like it got into a repetition of, somebody's going to die now, and they're just going to say no. And he's got some other crazy conspiracy theory as to why these plagues are happening, and they've set it up.
Pre-recorded and whatever else.
Change the channel.
Yeah.
Just switch it to another channel.
See if a different news sites.
See if a different. Yeah. How's this cabin not got Wi-Fi? That's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it also just feels like not. Like they hinted all these sort of biblical things, like, and there are lines like, God's hand will scorch earth and whatever else, 4 horsemen apocalypse, all these like biblical elements. But then I don't feel like the movie really goes the length. Like, and you don't have to be like, I'm not religious, but I still feel like if you're going to start going down that road, make the movie more involved in that. Like, have the characters, like having a gay couple have a sort of, who usually aren't religious in most scenarios, and that you could have the characters that way, but have them have sort of a crisis of faith around like God and everything. I feel like that's a much more interesting direction, but none of that really comes up. It's just not mentioned at all. So I found, I feel like this movie pulls its punches in like both themes and like also not wanting to show, like, doesn't want to show too much violence.
I don't think there's any blood in this from like other
there's
than
some blood,
occasional
but like
splatters.
you never see blood come out.
There's a bit of like
anyone,
little bit of liquid from like when they're stabbing them, but they like make sure to keep the knife in or whatever the weapon is in enough that you don't see much blood come out. So
it's a very tame movie violence, very tame movie thematically. Even with the whole idea of the apocalypse, I feel like even then it's still just very tame with how it uses that. So yeah, I think it was cool seeing Sydney get smashed by a bunch of airplanes, I guess. Yeah, that was love that. It's like, I've been there. I've been there. I can imagine that. Yeah. I know. I think it started strong and then couldn't keep up its tension or interest. I feel like the thing is with M. Night is, so this movie is a more contained, I want to say better made movie than Old, but it's also just nowhere near as interesting because it doesn't swing with its punches as wide as his last movie does, or most of his movies do. So because it feels like he sort of wanted to just not go like too crazy with it. More crowd pleasy. Yeah, more crowd pleasy. It's just more straight shooter with it all. And it is like enjoyable enough to watch, but it is very much in one ear and out the other. I'm never going to think about it again. Yeah, absolutely. And in a movie like this where they're talking about, where it should be like crisis of faith about religion and like, would you sacrifice a loved one? Like, I doubt anyone's walking out of the cinema having those conversations, where if this movie was done right, I feel like that's exactly what would be happening. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on Knock at the Cabin? No, that's it. It's definitely held high. It's held higher because of the performances. Yeah, that like sort of really elevate the script and the story here. Well, not to, like the story in its premise is good. Like obviously that's why the novel, I guess, was successful enough, and he wanted to turn it into a book, into a movie and whatever. But like the script version here is like mediocre. It's like it's fine at best. I feel like all the performances are definitely elevating this movie to be enjoyable to watch. All right, let us know what you thought of Knock at the Cabin by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump into our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Tell people about the show. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars, or head on over to explosion.com. Check it out, news, reviews, and other podcasts. And if you want to help, and if you enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
We've been given the chance to decide the fate of everyone.
Time's running out on the world.
I'm scared. There is nothing more flawed and perfect in this world than our family.
Please make a choice.
Always together.
Always together.
I will ask for the last time. Will you make a choice?